Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. I'm Garcia, the Chief Programs Officer with the Arts Council for Monterey County, and welcome to our quarterly workshop series called BusinessWorks. And this is a free professional development series, for artists, nonprofits, cultural organizations to learn the ins and outs of business, the side of business from creatives that are working in the field. So we decided, this was actually Emerald's idea, to focus on filmmakers. We've been working with a lot of filmmakers lately for a project here in the community, and we really think it's important for you to hear, what their process has been, their history, challenges, and just their different ways that they approach their business. So our program today is called Emerging Videographers, Frame by Frame, and our speakers today will present back to back, and then we'll leave ample time for Q&A at the end. And before I introduce the speakers today, I just want to thank our team, Jackie Axelson, our executive director, Naomi is here, our marketing coordinator, Nelly Atsu, who is not here right now, our communications director, and also to Emerald McCauley, our events coordinator and administrative coordinator. So I just want to thank all of you guys. There is a bathroom in the back. We have refreshments, water, coffee, and please feel free to stand up and take care of yourself and do whatever you need to do. We are filming today and taking photos, so if you haven't told me already, you can just let me know if you don't want to be photographed. Just let me know. So today we have two speakers. We have Nathaniel Eramaa. He's a filmmaker here from Central Coast, California. 6 years of experience. Oh, turn off your cell phones. I forgot to say that part. Oh, everyone's pulling out their phones. Hello. All right, so Nate is a filmmaker here from Central Coast. 6 years of experience, specializing in lighting to enhance cinematography. He's passionate about telling impactful stories and building a stable career in filmmaking. And we've been working together for the last few months on a project with the Central Coast Creative Corps. He's been documenting what's taking place with one of our artists, lead artist that's in partnership with the Village Project. So maybe he'll touch on a little bit of that process today. And then after Nate goes, we have Alex Garcia. He's the founder of Mag One Media, which offers digital marketing, website development, design, social media marketing, and audiovisual presentation. And Alex is dedicated to uniting communities through video production and strategic digital marketing. So let's welcome our speakers today. And we're going to get started with Nate.
Thank you, Karen. Thank you, everyone, for being here. So my name is Nathaniel Eramaa. Emerging Videographers, Frame by Frame. I'm going to do my best to talk and project. Let me know if you have any questions. We'll do questions more so like towards the end. But yeah, let's get started. So I'm going to talk about how I got started, from going on set to specializing into lighting, networking, and then taking action, and then the final, how you guys can reach me. And then how I started was back in 2018 when I got a camera. I kind of was writing out stories. I've always been creative, or at least I like to think I'm creative. And basically I just started shooting everything. And I probably took one film class, and it was at Hartnell. It was a screenwriting class, and I still have ambitions to maybe go to film school, but I actually just started. Things just kind of like roller coaster, just starting like working from one thing to the next and just getting experience was kind of like the way I was learning. So it started with journalism, and then it went from like artist music sessions, which you see over in the top left, just being a camera operator and then helping set up stands and lights for different like local artists in the area. And then, I eventually, a few years later, would go to like the Bay Area to work with a few different studios on short films or music videos that happen inside an in-studio house. And then I think one of the coolest experiences that I've ever had was getting to go to Tennessee when I was visiting family. And I got to work on a couple short films, but I also worked on a feature film I think it's coming out later this year, I hope. It's been in post-production for a while, but I met a lot of industry professionals and I really just grew to love like the narrative film space. And again, trial and error, just being on set. It's one of the best ways, at least for me, that I learned how to do the things that I do. So after working in Tennessee, I came to the realization that I needed to specialize in something. I think everyone who starts off as a videographer wants to be a jack of all trades, and you kind of have to be in a lot of cases. But specializing in lighting and knowing how to do things safely was something that really interested me when I got to see some industry professionals show me like one or two things. So that's what I started growing into. A couple examples of some lighting department positions are like a gaffer, which is your chief lighting technician. They work with your cinematographer to get like the look that you want for a film. Key grip will be the one kind of in charge of just facilitating how that's all gonna happen. They actually make things happen. Grips are one of the most important people on set. And then you have swings and electrics that kind of go in between just pure lighting or going to help wrangle cable out or all kinds of things. One of the next things I want to talk about, this picture is a friend took this picture. It was at the Poppy Jasper International Film Festival, and I want to use this to talk about networking because it's at film mixers, it's at film festivals, or it's even at places like this where you need to network and connect with people from your community and from abroad. To just whether they're going to be a client, whether they're going to be someone you collaborate like on a project together with, or maybe they're just interested in what you do. It's just important to talk and learn how to socialize because that gets you like really far, honestly. And I think when I first started off and from now, like over the past 6 years, still like the number one thing for me that has brought me back to working with people has just been my attitude. You have to have a positive attitude and mindset, and no one likes working with a negative person. This picture is back in 2019 when I was gonna have like a really tiny 35mm camera. It's the same brand as this camera, but it's also just smaller, but it doesn't have, and the mic has a shoestring that's attached to it. So I put this up because no matter what like stage of like your life you're in, and it's not just with videography, it's just anything that you're doing in life, you need to take action in order to see results, in order to get feedback. So you go from this and then, work hard and then eventually upgrade to this. And then I think this is more expensive than this. Wow. But you keep working up and you can keep going bigger and bigger, but it all depends on what you want to do. Like you might not know what you want to do like right off the bat, but over time you can figure it out. And then I might even scale down from this and just have a camera and a nice lens just to do photography. It really just depends. Yes, I might need help with this one just to get out of here. I wanted to show just an example of something that I've worked on somewhat recently. I think towards the beginning of this year. And I was a camera operator and grip for helping set up the lighting.
canciones de mi pasado color café. Viajando a través del tiempo, vamos tú y yo al amanecer. Se me acaban las palabras cuando charlamos, pero...
So if you want to watch that full video, it's by Alejandro. He's a local musician from the area. And this is like an NPR Tiny Desk contest submission. You can watch it on YouTube, look him up. I think he's a great artist and he does a lot of great work in the community. But what I wanted to show you is just a little bit basic camera operating, and then also just look at some of the lighting. That was the main purpose of that. Cool. And then if anyone, my email is right here. If anyone ever needs to reach out or has any questions, I'm totally, happy to answer anything or help in any way I can. And then my social media is not so fun name to type in. So you can come up closer and then you can take a screenshot, take a picture. And then currently, I'll add this. After 5 to 6 years, I usually work on a lot of other people's projects, and now that after having worked on a lot of other people's projects and not necessarily producing on any of the stuff that I've written just yet, I kind of feel like it's time that I want to rebrand myself, and so that's the direction I'm shifting towards. So hopefully by the end of the year, I'm gonna have a website up, and I'm gonna have a photography business going. Drone license. So those are all things that I've always wanted to do, but if you're doing the jack of all trades route and you don't focus on a single thing, then it just never happens. It could be another 10 years if I decided I want to keep doing everything. But so that's what after focusing 2 years on lighting, now I'm shifting to hopefully rebranding myself, and then hopefully more of you can find me like that. Anyone has any questions?
Yeah,
Great.
we can take some questions right now for you, maybe if anybody has any questions.
You mentioned that you're moving into a new direction, you want to rebrand. So can you share more about what that rebrand? I know you said that you're going to move into this type of work, which is more photography, and you're going in a creative direction. But what does that look like for you? Are there any words that you can use to describe what that new brand is and means for you?
Yeah, definitely. I've spent the beginning of this year trying to figure out what that would look like, because I want to be a little bit more niche oriented, and I think two things. I want to keep doing the video work that I do, and I've kind of fallen in love with the documentary and the short documentary space. And Arts Council is definitely giving me a great opportunity to do that with the Village Project. So I would want to advertise myself and brand myself as a documentarian, and then I would have a separate website completely devoted to photography. That way people can find me, and I don't want to be a guy that I saw a friend who wanted some feedback on a card. He was a freelancer. The front looked great, and on the back it said, "I can do your plumbing. I can do video work. I can do your lighting, and all that's good. I'm sure you can. But if you're not niche oriented, people don't really want every type of. What am I trying to say? I think you guys understand what I'm trying to say. A jack of all trades. So what that looks like is having two separate websites. One dedicated to the video documentarian space and one dedicated to photography. I also want to change my Instagram name, and I want to, instead of having Creative Nate or Fantastic Productions, it should be something simpler that is just my name, because I need to own who I am and embrace that.
So if you're working on other people's projects, how are you managing the different dates and shoots? It could be days, weeks, I guess. How are you managing that?
Yeah, that's been discipline. It takes a lot of discipline and organization skills and a lot of trial and error failures to wise up and just do things responsibly. Google Calendar has saved my life over the last couple of years, and sticking to your word and writing things down and just solid communication. And I'm not the best at it at all. I'm not a saint, and I'm not great at a lot of the stuff that I do. I try to be just good, and then I'm working every day to get better. But yeah, it's a super important factor because it's very easy to get overwhelmed. I've probably overwhelmed myself and procrastinated since high school with a ton of stuff. So it's a huge learning curve that you need to jump and move past. All right, I'll get to you in a second.
Oh, who's first?
You can go first.
Oh, you mentioned you did journalism. And
Yes.
then of course now you're doing music videos. Can you share a little bit about that? The different transition or experience you had as a journalist videographer to what you have now as a videographer getting artistic music going?
Yeah, definitely. So, I will try to summarize how I got into that position and how I transitioned. So, one of the videographer Hartnell professors at the time had gotten me a job to work at El Teatro Campesino, and then I was just a camera operator there, just learning stuff for the very first time. That was 2019, about 2020. And but among the other things that they were doing, he was part of a group called Octane 12, and they did video journalism. And their whole thing was telling short form stories within 60 seconds or a minute and a half of different various things that were happening within the community, like community actions, community assemblies, marches, all that stuff that was happening. That was just there's I think there's a ton of stories that happen every day within Salinas that aren't always told. And so journalism actually is really beautiful and similar to the documentary in the sense that if you're able to capture that story and then tell it in a short form fashion to get a message across. I think it was one of the biggest things that helped me grow at the time. And then transitioning to music videos, it's just those same people wanted to highlight artists. And so I got into camera operating and setting up lighting rigs with those same people. They're just really all about the community. So I was just happy to be in that environment. Yeah.
As an artist, like, how do you determine your rates? Because you're working with friends, or with community members, you're also working with people you don't even know, I imagine, sometimes for the first time. So, like, how did you determine your worth and your time? Like, how do you decide?
Yeah, I don't think I learned how to determine my worth until literally this year. So it took 6 years to figure that out. And I bounce it back and forth sometimes on it still. But ultimately, there's some things where you're going to be more passionate about it than others. Some things are just personally going to be more worth it to you than others. And then that's where you just have to draw your own lines. And everyone's going to have their own opinions, and they're going to have sound advice. But it's up to you to kind of determine what your boundaries are. So for me, for setting my rates, I think I love short films. I really love short films. And, my friend Nate over here, we worked on a short film together recently on a web series that we're developing with a bunch of people. And that one was completely for free. But that's the choice that I personally make because money is super important, time is very important, and then you have to value them in a balance. And I valued my time working with a bunch of my peers, like around the same age. Some of them are film grads, students, and some of them have worked in the Bay Area. And I get to learn from them, and they get to learn from me, and I just build my experience because I'm just very invested in that. Other things like I'll talk a little bit about photography. I like to approach it project by project. It really depends on the client's budget, and then you have to you have to kind of just set your standards at some point, and you all have to start somewhere. So you can start small, and then, for example, you can start from $100. Let's just say you start from $100, and then you start small, and then you just slowly upscale. And then if you're buying more equipment, for example, I'll go back a slide real quick. I'm not going to charge you $5,000 to shoot with this. I'm not saying I would even charge you $5,000 to shoot with this. It's just I would definitely, it depends on your gear, what you bring to the table, and in terms of gear, in terms of skills and experience. All of those are factors into determining your rate. And then if you do set a rate, then you just got to be comfortable with it. And then if it was too high or too low, and if you're not getting work, you just adjust. You just got to roll with the punches sometimes too.
And is all your equipment insured? Do you make sure it's covered in case someone breaks into you?
Currently it is insured. Yeah, I only got it insured about like 3 months ago. But usually, insurance is a great question because if anything does happen, you don't want anything to happen, but you do want some coverage. Thank you.
And how did you find your policy? Did you just go online or did you have a referral?
You can go online. Basically, you can go online and you can find a lot of different sources for it. Something that was a good lead for me is group houses will usually want you to have insurance if you want to rent out gear from them, and they'll list usually their insurance somewhere within one of their pages on their website, and that's a good place to also start and look into. And then asking Reddit sometimes can even be a viable option. I'm not saying you need to listen to everything on the internet, but I think it helps to do your research. Definitely don't make a decision right off the bat. But after doing like months of research at the beginning of the year, I found something that would work for me. And now everything is covered. And especially if you start working with higher tier clients, like it's not just like a family friend, but if you want to work with someone with Arts Council, it's important, anyone within like the city, it's important to be insured, and they'll usually make it a requirement. So that just kind of like upscales with like the budget of things too.
I think that's a lot. Oh, one more question and then we're.
How do you go about deciding when you need a permit, and how do you get your permits for filming?
Is for filming on locations?
Yeah.
Is this, would you say this is primarily for like the narrative space of like making like a...
Like the documentary and stuff.
Yeah, so you can research usually within your local county or like the cities. They'll have some type of recreational department or permit codes for like special events. Or if you're in LA, they have 80 pages somewhere dedicated to it towards filming. And some places, everywhere's really different, so you have to do your research. With here, it's a lot easier to get away with like a small crew. But if you're gonna like block traffic, if you're gonna do anything crazy, if you want to get like a crane and do overhead lighting, so that's gonna like really like in downtown.
Yeah.
You need to get all the permits. You need to have the insurance for sure. But it really depends on like the scale of your production. But yeah, talking to like local city officials and checking with the county and like the state requirements is an important thing to do research.
Okay, one last question. And then
I'll be super short with this. I'll say yes.
All right, what advice would you give to someone who's trying to kind of move away from doing the traditional 9 to 5 and move toward doing this sort of work full time?
Yeah, it is super hard. I think you have to stay focused, and I have my passions of making short films, but that's not paying bills. So that's why I branch out to photography, and I branch out into other like various like videographer roles that don't make that I'm not super passionate about, but they are helping like pay for things. So I said I was gonna keep it short. I think it's super tough. I think the most realistic way to do it is to keep doing the 9 to 5, but you also need to find the time. Like if you want to make that transition, you need to find the time afterwards or before to put in the work with your camera. So if you wanted to do like a photography business, you need to take pictures before and after, and then one day after you get like a client, just like one client, you just keep building, and then sometimes you just have to jump too, like making like just a big move, and then once you're fully in it, there's probably gonna be a lot of failures, but you're gonna eventually succeed if you just put at it enough.
One more time for Nate over here. As I'm turning this thing on, I'm going to go backwards on a few things. And again, I'm Alex. But start with the insurance thing. The Hartford Insurance is probably one of the only insurance agencies that will cover all of your video production services. Specific video, and also like I'm in the AV space. There's not a lot of insurance agencies that cover up to $2 million. No matter what place of business you step into, you have to have insurance in this business. You have to. If you drop that tripod right now and it was mine and it hit you, I just need to make sure that we could be covered. So going quickly, you said permitting. The city of Salinas just added or restructured, or I think they were working on those policies. If you are bringing 50 or more, you need a permit. If we were in this place and it's 50 or more technically, and we're making a film, you're bringing a truck or something, you need a permit. If we're in this space and the doors are closed, you don't need a permit. That's a good way to think about it. If you have 10 and you need to close the street, you need a permit. Okay, yeah. So let's see what was a couple of the other questions. Something that Nate stepped up, and actually my presentation doesn't look as good as his, that's for sure. Yeah, but my presentation is going to align like really nicely following his up, because I'm taking more of the approach of like building your business and growing your business and starting your business. One of the things that Nate said right away was you're into lighting and gaffing, and though it's not necessarily in my deck, and I wasn't sure what kind of audience we were going to get, so I stripped it. He said, we're here as a video, this is kind of a video series, and his passion is lighting, right? So your passion is kind of like lighting, right? That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
He loves the documentary process, he loves the film process, but one of the things, and I stripped it from here, not everybody's a videographer, not everybody's a camera operator. We may pick a camera up and we may go start shooting, but there's so many things in the video production space that we could like embrace or like be good at. We'd be from editor, directing, set design. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. And I think I said it earlier, you could be literally the person bringing the food and you have a passion for that and you love that. That's helping the production's value. Stick with it, because not everybody in this space is a filmmaker, or you're a filmmaker, you're just not necessarily the camera guy, make sure that this works. My nifty remote, I think it's here somewhere. Again, my name is Alex. I hate this title, CEO, but technically I grew up to become, we're an S-Corp business and I'm scaling in that direction. So technically I'm the CEO of my company. I'm a father, video producer, creative director, and then another word that I personally have hated for years, entrepreneur. The people are giving me that title as I grow up. So here we go. This is actually what I wanted to be. Yeah, since an early age, being a kid, I thought I'd be kind of more like Tony Stark. To be honest. And I thought I'd just pull that up because I think a little humor lights the space. Give you a little example of who I am. Oops. That is me in high school. Striving to become a pro will make a little bit of sense here in a minute. I'm not going to get stuck in the weeds of who I am in my own personal story, because then we'll be here for like 3 days. So through high school is my early ages of when I started picking up a camera. Literally, my friends knew me as the bike guy or the camera operator or the camera guy. Photos, video, everything all through high school. At 14 years old, my dad took me, single parent, went to Hartnell College, and he took a photography class. And I went with him. Richard Green was our instructor. That's how Richard Green and I, very popular local photographer, was the instructor. We became great friends. And anyways, I used to hang out there at 14 years old with my dad doing black and white photos. Then we went to the development class, and that's how I started to really get my niche and my passion for photography. This picture over here, at 18 years old, I became a professional mountain bike racer. I was very close to the world's best athletes in mountain biking, so a lot of people don't know that about me. But I was a professional in this photo here on the left and also the one on the top. And over here, hanging out in my buddy's backyard in a half pipe. Fun time in my life, but when I was hanging out with the world's best, I wanted to mimic them, be like them, and the only way to capture that was with my video camera. So that's what I did when I went and traveled all across the country, and went home and made some videos. Anyhow, that's kind of where it started. 2002, after some time in Hartnell College, I started what was called Mag 1 Productions. I took the name Mag 1 and I ran with it because I was sitting in an astronomy class for one day, then I dropped out. And I basically, Mag 1 represents the brightest star in the sky. So magnitude, my business is based off the magnitude scale, Mag 1 being the brightest star of the sky. That's me in 2005 in my first office. You can see a beta deck over there, some VHS and DVD and DV cam and some really old gear. I'm actually sitting by a video producer. His name is Jose Araguin, a good friend of mine, and he would come sit in the office, and that's his laptop. And we used to make a lot of commercials. And at that point, I was very much in the wedding space, very much starting to get my growing into the video world. I think that was like 2008, and over here like 2007 or 2006, something like that. But weddings and stuff was a thing that I was into, and I'm known for this. This is not too old, but this is like 2012-ish or 2013. It was actually one of the oldest videos I could find on my YouTube channel, or an old YouTube channel, but I just downloaded it in just to show you. You probably, if you're from Salinas, from Monterey County, so yeah, 2013, but you probably have seen these commercials, and I didn't think we needed to really listen to it, and I don't have no other videos through the presentation for time. Ripping through a few more. This is like 2011, the Concours d'Elegance standing next to a $30 million Ferrari. Some studio work, because I very much wanted to take, not this in, I didn't want to be a filmmaker per se. I wanted to be in the television space. So my passion was the television space, not being a filmmaker. Though we kind of embrace or try to do the best we can and make some really blown out TV commercials. But anyways, up there on the top, we actually had the Univision crew on a Nissan shoot, and again, I just did a lot of car stuff, but you can ask me more later. Then throughout the years, obviously, we continue to do a lot of stuff with hospitals. I just tried to find the oldest photos I could. A lot of cool stuff with the local hospitals. I did the TEDx talk that came to Salinas a few years ago. And I've worked with PG&E, down here in the lower right, over here, Bruce Taylor. I've had them all in front of my camera. So, 2016, Mag 1 Media, I dropped the productions. Growing up in this space, you're a jack of all trades, or you really, as a sole proprietor, I've been a sole proprietor, no boss, no other job since 2004. So I've been self-employed since then, and through the years, I've just tried to grow, like, how do I say, you gotta, you stay creative in this space. Graphic design, I taught myself to code, I taught myself web development. I was very much a big geek when it came to Friendster, MySpace, social media. MySpace would come around, all my friends and bands and whatnot, but we do, you could code your own sites, and then eventually people made code that you could download from websites, and still nobody knew how to add music to the background, and that's something I geeked out on, and I really just started to learn more to code, CSS, HTML, real basic, and literally years, 10, 12 years flew by really fast, and I just knew that I was getting tired. Number one, I knew I wanted to grow up. No, that's probably the wrong way of saying it. I was getting exhausted. Every day you're not sleeping, and you still have such a passion for doing what you do, but eventually, like, I wanted to have a family, and I wanted to get a regular, 8 to 5 type of work, which it'll start to make sense in a bit. So that's when I was like, okay, we're gonna drop the productions, go media, and I'm gonna hire employees, and we're going to offer all of these services, and I won't be a one-man band. Today, this is actually our core team, pretty much all full-time. 2 of them are in the room. I got Johnny and Johnny, and Jonathan and Johnny. Again, they're 2 really amazing, incredible video producers, creators, content creators, and so I just am honored to have them on our team. We have Matthew over here, who's a website developer, so that's another angle of a service that I provided. Alina is our social media manager. And then the one on the top in the middle, that's actually my sister. I hired her right out of high school, and she's 27 now, 28, I don't even know how old she is, but she's been with me, she's my right hand, she's been with me every step of my journey. These are some of our clients. You may have seen some of our work. I'll flip through it real quick. This actually is really cool, going right after Nate, because I didn't look at his deck. I didn't see, as a matter of fact, I finished my deck last night at 2 in the morning. But I just said, these are my 7 tips. They're not necessarily in order. You had kind of like 6 bullet points. I just thought that was cool, and I probably would have made 10, but we need to keep it short. So, back to you gotta love what you do. If you don't have heart, like, for what you're doing, you shouldn't be doing this type of work, because well, it's definitely a lot different than, probably, actually I say this, it's probably no different than being a nurse, but either way, no matter what you're doing, you just gotta love it. You gotta wake up in the morning, you gotta be passionate about what you're doing. So there's a couple things here, the work for free type of love. So again, I think that my deck is gonna pair really nicely, and we didn't actually collaborate. But the type of love for your work that you're just willing to do it for free, Now that doesn't mean go out and do a bunch of free work. I actually, at this point, I would advise not to. But if you have a project or something, you love what you do so much, you're willing to do it for next to nothing. Again, you gotta love what you do so much that it really is gonna strip you of what you think is your personal time. Eventually that personal time will come back as you're growing and scaling your business. But really in this artistic world, and I think when you're an artist, even probably like thinking about this mural right here, you're probably dreaming and sleeping, and when you're in these dreams, you're really not really asleep, and you're just thinking about your next project. And so again, the no sleep type of love for me. For me, the make them smile type of love. For me, my work is not revolved about, like, at the end of the day, and I think maybe Johnny 1, you've heard this a few times, like, if they're smiling, my clients don't need to say thank you, but when they're smiling type of love for your work, then you're doing something right. And again, it's just true passion. Going back on where I started with, like, again, I love that you say the lighting direction. And again, it's not for everyone, and that's okay. Like, I put that as a bullet point, because you might not really be a camera operator. You might be holding a camera, but that might not be where you end up in 5 or 10 years from now. And that's okay too, and I'll explain. Hone in on your skills. Again, none of these might not be in order. It was pretty late, so we're working on the fly. Hone in on your creative skills and growing yourself in your creative agency or your business. Don't limit yourself. Again, you might not just be a camera operator. I love what you're saying. You got to innovate. You got to shift. We got to make money. We got to be photographers. We got to be a video guy. And in this market specifically is hard. I tell this to my clients all the time. Like in this market of Monterey County, Salinas, I think our services of video, and I'm just going to stick on that for a minute, is very undervalued. I'm just going to leave it like that. It's like undervalued in the works and the services that we provide. So again, we need to, and that's why I probably did what I did. I learned to code. and I did that early without ever knowing that the space we're growing up and into. We're in this full digital world now, where you need to basically be, a transformer. Lately, I've been using that word a lot. I'm a transformer. So go with yourself. And I underlined this one, but invest in yourself. Nowadays, again, with any business, anything you do, you might want to find a mentor, coach, whatever it is. There's a lot of online people that do it. It might not be really good, but you won't know that until you trust them, invest in yourself, basically. A lot of YouTube stuff. I'm trying not to get stuck. I'm trying to go fast here. Don't overthink it. I think that's something that all creatives maybe hear over and over, but don't overthink your work. Don't overthink your craft. Don't overthink, because sometimes some of your most simple or not your best work could be could be the best to someone else. So sometimes don't overthink it. I'm moving fast here. Family, faith, and love. So I have a cousin who's an upcoming professional boxer, and he started this. His slogan is "Family, Faith, Fight." And he's a professional boxer. He's ranked number 2 in the middleweight class. His name is Garcia. When I seen that, I was like, wow, that's awesome. But for me, it's again back to love. We've already seen love in the beginning. For me, relying on your support system. For me and my family, my wife. Honestly, I don't think we'd be scaling, would be growing without the support that she gives me, and in allowing, again, all of that, it's not free time, but the work time and those hours that I'm putting in. So the support system, however that looks like to you. And I know that might not resonate to everybody. Again, I have 3 children, and that, so you put yourself. Work to set an example from those around you. I think again, it's just, it kind of aligns with this. Like, I want to be an example for my children, but now as I'm scaling, growing my business, I want to be an example to you, like Johnny, you know what I mean? So like, and everybody that are around me. Motivation for going to work every day. Again, just have a little bit of, again, from faith, love, it's all right, So some of them may kind of sound similar, but again, make smart investments. I just thought I'd put this because I thought it was important for me to share. When I started growing my business in the beginning, you showed your DSLR camera right there. And I want to come out and just say, if I could give anybody tips and advice in starting their business quick and early, then save a lot of your money early. Don't go out and just start buying things because you think you need it, because cheap equipment will end up costing so much more. It took me longer to get to where I'm at today because of all of the wasteful money that I spent over and over and over again. Breaking microphones, and then you buy another $500 microphone, and then it breaks again, and now I just, literally one microphone pack costs $1,500 or $2,000, and you're like, wow, okay, now we know we've got the best. And now when it breaks, I know I can set it off. And tennis break, we buy another one, things like that. So don't buy cheap equipment in this world. And of course, maintain financial discipline. You can kind of get it. Means kind of one and the same. But don't just go crazy spending. I think it's important. It's not always the size of the tool, but how you use it. A friend of mine, and actually I was getting some help from Cynthia, my right hand. And she goes, I don't like that saying at all. I don't like that saying at all. And I was like, I don't care. That's something I've been saying for years. It's not the size of the tool. It's really how you use it. Again, I'm holding over definitely over 5 figures in my hand right here, doesn't mean I'm making good pictures with it, you know? And again, find the tools that work for you too is important. I think this is kind of aligns all. And then also, I put this one last, and actually I remember putting this one literally, it was like 1 a.m. People, I'm investing in people that I believe are better than me, you know? I might know I'm better than them, but I'm investing in people, and the people that work around you are important, you know what I mean? And growing your business and scaling yourself. For me, it's always find people. Actually, I heard Nate talking, and I'm like, man, I'm gonna hire him next, so. And then planning ahead is all aligns perfectly. And actually I put a little asterisk on it. I don't want to get stuck in the weeds, I'm gonna keep going. But planning ahead for me today, I'm just gonna say for me today, planning ahead, we're all artists in this room, I'm gonna just say. And so we probably are, and we're probably somewhat self-employed. So I wanna somewhat just be the voice to say, here I am investing in myself, in my own retirement plan. And I won't get stuck in the weeds on that. But if you haven't started it today, boys, I tell you guys, create your own retirement plan, whatever that looks like. IRA, Roth IRA, because you don't have an employer to do it for you. I wish that my dad and that my schools and everybody I went to told me to plan ahead for my future. Here I am, 42 years old, and I'm investing every extra penny I got into my own personal way, in my own personal retirement. Okay, I want to be at Disneyland every single weekend with my family, and and the only way I'm doing that is planning ahead in my own personal retirement. I'm sorry. I'll move on. Taking calculated risk, I think it makes sense. They all kind of align. But calculated risk for me means getting uncomfortable, literally getting uncomfortable, whether that's money, whether that's, again, buying spending that extra dollar to buy equipment, getting uncomfortable in your edits or your projects, financial risks, but just do it wisely. But that's all part of growing and scaling your business. Growing a business is extremely scary. It doesn't matter what type of business you got going. Something I've just been hearing online through probably a lot of the business influencers, slow to hire, quick to fire. I try to never fire anybody. As a matter of fact, I only really through all of my years have one story where I really wanted to fire somebody. But again, if you're hiring people that are better than you, and they have a passion and they love growing with you, and you all have the same mindset, then you don't really need to worry about the other. Pay well. I hope I pay well, and I think our goal is we want to continue to grow in every business to where that we can continue to raise their pay. Trust. Again, put a lot of trust. For me, what this means is. Let's just say 2016, we're filling seats, editors that's better than me, or that I feel is more creative than me. However, Alex didn't want to let go. I wanted to be the person that's that's my art, that's my passion, that's my, that needs my stamp, that needs, and for me, my business didn't actually really start growing until I trusted that their work would be equally better or ours and mine, So letting go and trusting is where things change for me. And again, innovate or change course, becoming a photographer, we've been there. For me, I during COVID really took a shift in my business from it just being, we've always been primarily a video production business at the core, digital marketing on the back end. That's just innovating to bring in income. But I innovated to really scale our business. We've spent, hundreds of thousands over the last couple of years to be able to provide audio-visual services. So I keep saying I would have brought the speakers and the projector and the TVs and all that, so we could have had a whole presentation that looked a little different. But that's the direction that we're also moving into the audio-visual space. And again, you just got to be prepared to take risks, to change course, and for us, that's where I'm following the course of where the money's at. I probably wouldn't be where I'm at today without this one right here. That's again back to the calculated risk, doing jobs for free. But for me, I wanted to do it not in the sense of going to do a short film for a creative idea where everybody, 10 creative people did it, you know, just for the passion, created art. Like that's an art and that's nothing. But for me, I took the direction of giving back to the community, to nonprofits, you know, throwing a $5,000, $10,000 potential bill at them and them turning around and saying, great, we have $100, so we have no money at all. And you just have to be willing and prepared to say, I want to do this job. I love what I believe in, what your guys' missions and goals are here, and I want to be behind it. And for me, I truly, for a little more context, I've been working with nonprofits in our community since 2008. And so when I first started working with them, I had this mindset as a young, uneducated, like within that space person. You know, I was just filming all of these multimillionaires that are like writing checks, and I just think, oh, it's all for tax purposes. But when you truly love what you do and you have a passion for not just your own personal work, but for your community that serves you, then you'll understand this desire to give back to those works. Again, and my success today, how I continue to give back, again, through those nonprofits and through the people that allowed me to funnel through them and then they help, you know. So those, your success is the success of those who help you grow. Giving back can benefit you in the long run when you sponsor programs, events, etc. Again, it's all pretty much what I says. And then again, it helps build lasting relationships. And then this last one, I actually have a graph that you probably have all seen. Who've seen this before? For years and years and years, I was stuck here. But my client still thought it was good, you know. It still went on television. I always wanted to be like, go up to the better. I want to be this one, but you know, I want to be that one too. Expensive. I want to be, you know, we all want to have the Rolexes and all that, right? And like I said, I want to be Tony Stark. But I think that if the more and more I paid attention to this over the last, I would definitely say it's been almost 10 years. And the more I set my mind into, again, we want to do good but quick work. I think in our studio we do good. I think we do great quick work, but our work turns around pretty quick. But also we have moved into that we're expensive, you know. I'm not, don't take it the other, you know, our business is a little bit of everywhere. I think that if you just put this and hold this in your back pocket for you, you'll start to understand and you'll start to know your worth, you know? Because that was a question of like, how do you charge or how do you know your worth? So that's why it's pretty cool. Our decks kind of align without ever talking to each other. So just try to me, don't try to be fast and take your time, but also try to be good, try to be great at what you do, and obviously find what works for you. That's how you get a hold of me. I don't have a whole lot of photos of myself, but there's our studio. You go on our website or my Instagram, you can see the stuff that we're doing. But that's it. Thank you.
Yeah. And Alex, I didn't even realize that we had forgotten that we had met each other at the Artichoke Festival, and we had this long conversation over in our booth, and I was like, I love his approach because he was like, I'm sponsoring the Artichoke Festival, I'm doing all this work, you know, I'm on the board or something, you were doing all this stuff, and I was like, that's such a great approach of like aligning with a business, a nonprofit, to show them that you're committed, dedicated to what they're doing, and then in turn, they would be hiring you. You're also introducing yourself to other organizations and other people like us, And I was just like, oh, that's so dope, you know, I just like love that approach. And the same with Nate, like working with Nate, he's such a collaborator, and like, I just was like, I love how he approaches working in community. So we just felt like these guys are just like perfect to talk about this topic from where they are in their business. So I just thank you guys so much for being here. We're gonna open up just for a little bit of Q&A, and then, but before I lose your attention right now, quickly, where are you guys? You're in Artworks, just so you know, if you haven't been here before. Artworks is a collaborative space for artists. We rent studio spaces out to individual artists, or artists, if you may be working together with another artist, you can rent out a space together. It's really affordable spaces, sliding scale. Just spread the word. We have a lot of spaces open still available. We have right now a rotating art show that with local artist Danny Torvik, and every quarter we switch out our work. Next Friday we will be participating in First Friday, so come through, tell people. We usually have music, food, it's fun, it's festive, and yeah, I just want to, I was like, I got their attention, let me say that right now. So if you have a question about studio rental, you can just ask me before you leave. And but let's open up for Q&A for Alex and me. Question?
I've talked with you about this before, Alex, but your answer was amazing, and I think it kind of goes for not just media business, but business as a whole. When you're starting out growing your business, like how do you make these connections like you've made, like as you work on all of the biggest events in the area, whether it's Rodeo, Air Show, Artichoke Festival, you work with some of the biggest PR firms, doing artwork for some of the largest businesses. How do you go about making those connections and kind of establishing trust to get the contracts that you've kind of established over time?
I know that feeling. To be honest, I think it's a small community, and everybody's shaking hands with everybody, and it's just really being yourself. Like I just was myself, you know. I used to. Here I am in a hoodie sweater. Actually, it's a good example, and my pants are ripped. I'm still thinking I'm in my 20s, and here I am in my 40s. I used to think like in my 30s, I gotta put on a suit, and I gotta wear, you know, I gotta have the fancy leather bag, and I gotta have all, you know, and I walk into these meetings, and literally there'd be ag leaders, and you know, we'd be sitting in foundation offices, and I'm like literally feeling filthy, and wearing a hat and a hoodie sweater, and so I try to mix that up, and I thought that was going to give me a closer connection and handshake with these business people. And then it turns out you go out and you do the work for them, and they're literally it's in their farm, and you know, and and you got muddy boots on, you know. So I had to learn that in our community, it's really just how do I say it? Just handshaking with them. That's it. It's just handshaking and just ask it. I hope that's the right answer, but I really, a little bit of luck on my side, and just putting in the work. I hope that answered it.
Of course it is.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I know you mentioned.
Either one.
I really love that chart that you showed, the good, fast, expensive. I know you mentioned, you were saying like you're the good and expensive option now. How did you decide, like, at what point were you like, all right, we're gonna be the expensive one? And was that like a scary thing to do to like, you know, up those rates?
Yeah.
And how do you go about that?
Yeah, I literally, just so everybody knows, I've done work in like everyday work where I'm only charging $300, like for a TV commercial that I felt. I would do a TV commercial here for a car commercial, let's say like that Chevy commercial you saw. I probably only charge $300 like total, right? But then I'll go to San Jose or Morgan Hill or GMC of Morgan Hill, and I used to do their commercials, and it'd literally be $5,000. And I'm like, how did it switch so much? This community, I'm sorry, this like Monterey, I don't know, this bubble that we're in, it hasn't innovated with the TikToks, like with the, now today I'm getting, my businesses are saying, how do I get on TikTok? TikTok, all the youth are on TikTok, and it's so popular, but the businesses haven't asked yet. You know what I mean? Our businesses have been like 5 years, like literally behind. they're always behind. And now I'm hearing TikTok, so I know it's shifting again. You know what I'm saying? And now they're like late. They're so late to this TikTok game. They're late, you know? It's only because it's on the news and they want to ban it, you know what I mean? And so now our older demo and our businesses are paying attention. So I think that's when I finally said, this doesn't seem right. And I've always wanted to have these types of discussions. I think on the phone when we talked, I said, I've been wanting to do something like this where other video creators come together and it's like, you know, I had a wedding friend of mine in my office. I was trying to hire him and he was doing some editing work with me. But he was charging $750 for a wedding. And I was like, that same exact service from start to finish, I just charged $10,000 in San Jose. You know what I mean? So that was me growing up through the wedding because I used to do $1,500 weddings and then I got to $3,000 weddings and then I was like, oh my gosh, Dad, I got a $5,000 wedding. You know what I mean? You have to you just want to push and push and push because I'm willing to bet that half of you in here that are creators can do a $10,000 wedding. You just have to sell yourself. Like when you're sitting with your client, it's 10 grand. Like do the math with everybody, align yourself with everybody else. I'm not like the Salinas people. You know, and I'm sorry, that's a bad way of saying it. I'm not like the Salinas market.
Breaking the status quo.
We're in a bubble of we are all milking our own prices down. You know what I'm saying? And
Raise
it's just
your
happening.
prices. Raise your
Raise your
prices.
Yeah.
So when you're doing a video project, probably 95%, correct me if I'm wrong, 95% is spent on equipment, correct? Now, time-wise, how much is spent towards like editing?
Oh yeah, that's a good question. When I usually we'll just ask the client up front, we'll have a lot of them that say, oh, it's 2 or 3 hours, and I say, okay, great, send for 1 day rate, you know, one for and then we have the editing rate, but I'll always double the days of the editing, you know. I mean, that's just a quick way to answer that. I'll always say again, if I mark down on the books, even though if they say 2 hours or 3 and 4 hour shoot, I'll always put that it'll be, and over time you'll just learn, like we're making a 1 minute video or 2 minute video and actually these guys can answer it too. Like Jonathan right now is working on a video that's a 10-minute video, you know, for a hospital. He's been stuck on that video for like 2 weeks, you know, something like that, right? And it's like, maybe more, yeah. And it's like back and forth. And it's like, but that video we had like no direction, you know. So every project is kind of different. So then you just kind of have to take the approach like, if they kind of tell you, we have to do this project and it can't exceed it, well then we have to figure out how to do the math so that way then everybody can get paid. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Thank you.
I hope that makes sense.
Yeah.
How do you hold boundaries with clients when, say, for example, they're vague in not even vague, like let's just say you have a client who is presenting like, I want this vision. And you're like, actually, that's not doable with your budget, right? Like, how do you navigate those waters with grace and like composure and like professionalism, like in examples of like,
I think that's a good question. I think you just be honest. You know, I don't have like a particular scenario, but we just did a recent commercial and they, you know, the client came out and says, we have this vision, this is what it's like, this is what our budget is, and it says, well, so you're really gonna, you just kind of be honest and you're like, I think we can do that by doing this. You know what I'm saying? Or I did this project before and I think it could look like this. You know what I'm saying? And then what I've even done more recently is, and I'll even share who it is. So we're working on a project right now that's not going to come out until maybe November or December, but it's the food bank for Santa Cruz. And they're partnering with the Santa Cruz Warriors right now. You know, so they have this vision, but they don't have a budget. You know what I mean? So what we did is I just scouted YouTube, you know, and we sent some examples, like some vision, like we created vision boards. You know what I'm saying? And then so I just created a vision board for, and we like some ideas. We don't have like the script yet, and so I think that's kind of how I'm not answering your question correctly. I think, but just being honest. I think just honesty. It's just like you realize that what you're asking for was filmed on a red camera. You know what I mean? Like, and so to bring this out is going to cost you. I mean, no joke. If you're going to shoot with this thing for at least an hour, it's going to cost you $150 in a hard drive, minimum. And I always say you need two. One terabyte of video space in a medium quality recording is 44 minutes. And so some of your clients may be coming and saying, we love this. And you're like, this. You know what I mean? Money.
And then,
yeah.
sorry, just one more thing is like,
no,
when it comes to like photo releases, like, since you're kind of like a full spectrum, like it seems like your production company offers a lot.
Yeah.
Are you guys in charge of the photo releases? Like, so you're doing a festival, like, how do you account and how do you hold responsibility for that or
The
not?
ticket, the gate, and there's actually some like you can take your camera on the street and point it at anyone. It's totally legal, you know. So it's totally legal.
But if somebody's like, hey,
They can't touch you. They can't.
Really?
It's illegal for them to say they're on a public ground. Yeah, so you can point. When you start using their lights for paid commercial usage is when they can come back and then ask you for rights.
thank you, I didn't know
If you're
that.
using it for news, journal, or something free, you know what I mean?
Okay.
So you're just considered basically like a news gatherer on the street. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally,
Yeah.
thank you.
All
I
right,
have
go
a
ahead.
question for
Yeah.
you. How are you dealing with, obviously, the expansion of technology like the cell phone and the on-location broadcast that you're doing, and all of a sudden, what you're working on comes up in social media? I mean, obviously, you're dedicating a lot of the time, and you're focusing on your gear, and you want it to be like exclusive. How are you managing that?
I'll tell my clients that you can't afford me. Use this.
Or what about if people do it without you? I mean, like if it leaks out there and you find that out, I mean, I don't know.
What do you mean by leaks out? So I'm sorry. So I kind of was. So what I understood as a question is, how do I navigate the fact of like when my clients want like a social media piece, we're using our tools, but they so.
No, you're working and all of a sudden somebody uses their cell phone and that same production that you're working on gets leaked. And all this your production is things like that.
I'm not big enough for that. I'm not there yet. Yeah.
Someday.
Does that make sense? Yeah, I think that if you want, if you're working on a project, and I try to share this with my team too, depending on the project, occasionally we'll have very, very rarely, but the client will ask for like a NDA, you know. So and if that happens, then we're respectful of. It's just so everybody knows, when you take a picture and/or you have a video recording, from a business standpoint, it belongs to the business. But as individuals, it's your work. So if I was paying you, I'm sorry, what's your name? Andrea. So if I was paying Andrea to take a picture, she can use that on her social media or wherever she wants. I can't legally tell her not to. She owns the right to that snap. Now she's releasing it to me to use it for my marketing. Make sense? But she owns it. She's the rightful owner to that. She is the copyright holder to it, unless she signed that agreement with me of how we're going to use that. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Was your question?
I hope that makes sense.
Jesse, was your question like you're doing a production? Because we've had similar situations where you're actually doing a production. Somebody who either works with the organization or the business is taking social media content.
Or a guest.
Or a guest,
Yes.
and then they post it before you post your project. Yeah, we've encountered that, and that can be a conflict. Maybe that's a conversation you need to have with whomever hires you beforehand. Like, hey, you know, they're shooting my content. You know, can we wait before you post? Can I send you my final cut before you start posting? You know, all your social media content. I think it's a good conversation to have because sometimes it's helpful, you know, it can be helpful for you too, you know, it's like, hey, but this is my final piece, my final polished piece, but I understand what you're saying where you're like, I'm editing this piece and you're already submitting your social media is already out there, so.
And Alex, she does the events, the public events, which is understandable.
Yeah.
But there may be some private ones.
Like for example, if you were working on a short film and then all of a sudden there's like a behind the scenes, here's a take or a look. I mean, they should have done their like diligence of just asking everybody to sign a waiver not to do that. You know what I mean? So entering the space is like, does that make sense? it's a tricky thing. That's why I kind of said like I'm not there yet. You know, that's another level. But you can scout our social medias and like you very rarely you may find a photograph or something like in our Instagram story, but you'll almost never see us sharing our projects. Like you'll almost never see the commercials and the video work that we do. I mean, you can ask these two guys, like there's probably 15 plus videos out of our office a week, you know what I mean? Like, right? We got videos like pumping like all day. Like we can be showing content like all, and the amount of content that we have for today is like, we could be social media monsters if we wanted to. But we show respect to our clients and we don't post it. We let them show, you know what I mean? We're building it for them, you know what I'm saying? So everything, like I have my own direction, but I see people in our space doing this all the time. They're quick to leave the event and they're quick to reshare it on their own thing. When it really belongs to the arts, council, right? So it's like, they should have got the love first and then we could do it and then you can share it. But our mindsets are so hungry to create content right here today that you just have to have it in your own will and have that, like you'll find that balance because it's gonna step on people's toes eventually. And they're gonna eventually start to go find other people to create content and invite into their space when they see that. And that's my belief. So.
And you know what, I'm sorry, thank you for sharing that NDA. You know, I do work that, and I think that's the way to do it.
Yeah.
But there's always a little detail.
Yeah.
And I was just wondering with your mindset.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
The one thing I didn't say in my deck, and that's because I just don't want to give financial advice and all that stuff, but like probably the mistake that I made, and it's a huge mistake in growing your business, and like legal and but a financial person or a bookkeeper in your business, like that should be like literally your right hand person. You know, I think if you want to grow and scale, and you need to know how to manage and juggle your money, and those need to be the first two people. Not the approach I took. I learned the hard way. That's probably why it took 20 years, but yeah.